Hello and welcome to this James the Bike Guy, where today we're getting to take a look at what could be the fastest bike available. In front of us is the new 2022 Trek Speed Concept SLR 6 eTap. And while that might be a mouthful, so are the aerodynamics and performance of this bike. And in this video, we're gonna go out of my comfort zone to check out a bike I have never looked at before on the channel, a triathlon bike. And what a beautiful $9,000 super bike to start off with. So in this video, we're gonna geek out over some of the features and designs of this bike, which there are many, and then we'll find out exactly what it weighs. And if you wanna check out an absolute weapon of a bicycle, well then this is the video for you, so sit back and let's check it out together. Starting off with the Speed Concept SLR 6 eTap, I don't have a whole ton of familiarity with triathlon bikes like this, and I'm not sure if you do as well. So if you've got a lot of knowledge about these, leave those down in the comments below. And if this is new to you, I hope you geek out with me just as much as I am. But man, does this thing look fast. So this particular bike is in Trek's lineup of their Speed Concept series, which is their triathlon bikes that you would use for things like Ironmans, even half irons, or super long distance endurance races as well. And part of what makes these bikes tick is really in the aerodynamics. So as you can see here, this bike is just so fast looking. You know, everything is bladed out. Your whole frame is really optimized for aerodynamics. And some of the cool things we'll talk about is like how they integrate the water bottle in to make the bike even faster. Now, this bike is of course carbon only, and it's made out of their Trek OCLV 800 series carbon fiber. And Trek has been using camtail technology for a while, but this bike takes it to the next level. So as you can see here, the end of the tube shape is rather flat. So it flattens off. If we look at the seat tube, same deal. It's basically straight flat on the back, but then it has an airfoil shape to the front. And so what that allows for is this to look similar to the Air, just like it had a tail going off. But they're able to compact the frame, save a little bit of weight, and also fit in some guidelines as well. But these camtail airfoil shapes give it the stability of a longer airfoil shape while staying this truncated size. You know, if you've ever looked at the original generation Honda Insight or even the original Toyota Prius, you would have seen both of those cars kind of lop off right at the back, and that's because they're using a similar shape. Now, along with that, Trek does have a threaded T47 bottom bracket, and out back, they dropped the seat stay way low and kind of this kinked angle to be able to help with airflow as well. Another neat thing that's added, and this was not part of the prior generation bikes, is they've added the additional ISOSpeed technology like they have in many of their road bikes, where the back saddle is able to flex. You see that rubber filler there? That's the flex that's happening there. They claim it's about 30% smoother riding than the prior generation. And then as we start going into some of those better pieces to the bike, check this out. So in the top tube, we've all seen the kind of swap boxes, frame storage, stuff like that. But look inside of there. So this top tube spot has enough room for 8 gels. So you can kind of slide them right in, right through that slit in the rubber box. And this box can be taken out. It's just got some Allen keys there. And you can run it through the dishwasher, which makes sense because if you've ever used gels, I bet you know they get really, really sticky. Then your water bottle, this is integrated into the shape of the down tube. You can see it comes out. This helps the bike go a bit faster by continuing that shape. You know, when you have a longer transition between angles and aerodynamics, from my understanding, that helps with the airflow and reducing drag. And this water bottle can of course be filled up, and underneath it is yet another spot for storage. So you can see this piece will come right out, and this spot underneath this rubber strap is where you'd put your tube. You can add your CO2. Their bits multi-tool fits right into this slot there, and then you can thread in the CO2 and the head. and that slides right into the frame. The other neat thing about that, and you can see it down here, see that hose? So that's the rear brake line. This bike happens to be wireless shifting through SRAM's rival drivetrain we'll check out in a second, but of course you still have hydraulic lines, and it's really cool that that should be able to help with some of the cable routing when you're doing service on the bike, because you can get into the center of the frame. So we'll put that back down, lock that guy back into place, and then your water bottle kind of slides right back into its holder. Moving up top, we've got a standard water bottle cage mounted up on this handlebar, but they also make a integrated hydration system that kind of lays on top of here, has a tube that comes out, so when you're on the bike and riding this, you're going to have your hands kind of down in this position, and I'll show you a rider right now. But that allows you to drink while riding without getting out of that aerodynamic position. And the other neat thing is you could use that water bottle to fill it up. It kind of just goes right into the front, fills the whole system back up. Now, of course, a mount for your Garmin, because you're going to be watching power and what you have going on. And then the fit on the bike is pretty highly adjustable. So setting up a fit on something like this is pretty important from what I understand, because you're locked into that position for a super long ride. On a traditional road bike with those bars that kind of curve down, you've got multiple positions, whereas here you just have the position laying your arms right on like that, or holding straight out, which is not an aerodynamic position. So the rise to this handlebar is able to be adjusted with these spacers. You can add and remove spacers as needed. And then the reach is highly adjustable by having these guys be able to slide in and out. Now those clamp up via two little Allen keys on both sides, and most of the fit adjustments can be done just with Allen keys. Now, the bar and the base bar are both made out of carbon fiber, Bontrager setups, and then you have your SRAM hydraulic disc brakes that are added on this bike with 160 millimeter rotors, both on the front and the rear. Now, as far as seating position, that's on this Hilo Comp saddle from Bontrager. This is one of these truncated nose saddles. You can see it's a bit shorter, and the shape and position is quite a bit different, because as your pelvis rocks forward, what ends up happening is your pelvis, the spot that you're sitting on, narrows, and so the whole shape has to be different than what you'd get on a traditional road bike. Now, carbon fiber seat post going into that IsoSpeed technology on the back, and that makes for a really sweet setup. Now, according to Trek's own numbers, this new bike is 16 watts faster at 45 kilometers an hour compared to the prior generation, which that bike has been around quite a long time, considering it came out in 2014. Now, that means over the course of an Ironman ride, that theoretically it should save you about 6 minutes over their prior generation. And Trek claims that to mean that this Speed Concept is one of the fastest triathlon bikes in the world. And it certainly looks the part. But now that we've checked that out, I think it's time we should check out the parts. And moving into the part spec, it's important to mention that this is the SLR 6. And while it looks like an insane and crazy race bike, because it is, this is in the middle of their lineup. They also still have an SLR 7 and an SLR 9 above it. So $9,000 gets you a mid-level bike and what is essentially an absolute weapon of a road bike. So this is, no mid-level bike, but it is in this series. So for part spec, that means it's rocking SRAM's rival 2x12 drivetrain. So out back, you have the rival rear derailleur operating through this 10 to 36 tooth rear cassette. And then up front is a 48-35 tooth chainring combination. I said before that these are electronic shifting, so all wireless, no wires going to them, the batteries themselves. Right here, they just kind of pop on and off, easy to charge when you're not riding the bike. I do like the SRAM wireless drivetrain. I got a chance a little while ago to ride this for a real extended period, this drivetrain I should say, and I was super impressed by it. And up on that handlebar is where you're going to shift the bike with these two buttons. So your hands go into this position and that button is going to shift up. that side's going to shift down, and then if you press both together, you'll shift the front derailleur. So super smooth and simple integration, really neat to see. Now, going further into integration will be the wheels and tires that are going to help make this bike go fast. So here are the Bontrager Aeolus Pro 51s. So this is a 51 millimeter deep tubeless ready wheel set, although they're coming stock with tubed tires, and that'll be a choice for the rider that rides on the bike. And those tires are some Bontrager R3s in a 700 by 25. Now, interesting to note, and this is a bit different than a lot of bikes I've looked at before, the max front tire clearance is 25 millimeters, while the max rear tire clearance is 28 millimeters. So it's pretty neat to see that you kind of could run a staggered setup if you wanted to. And I imagine the 28 in back would add some comfort without getting in the way of the aerodynamic performance of the bike. Well, anyways, now that we've taken a look at some really incredible parts and features of this Trek Speed Concept SLR 6 eTap, I think it's time we find out what this rocket ship weighs. The actual weight of this Trek Speed Concept with all the accessories installed comes in and weighs 22.10 pounds. Well, thanks again for checking out this Trek Speed Concept. This bike has been really neat for me to see. I'd love to get a chance to take one of these out for a spin and just see what it's all about. But until then, this video will have to do it. So go ahead and let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. While you're at it, be sure to hit that subscribe button and definitely browse the channel for more crazy bikes like this to check out as well.